Hey guys, this is Justin Southworth, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the August Moon podcast. And today, I am going to talk about a subject that has taken me a while to figure out the answer to. Working in the health food stores and with alternative healing, and I've even gone to a holistic school that trained me on a lot of alternative ways of healing and the emotional connection to illnesses and physical ailments. I found there's one issue or health concern that I was never able to find a solution to. But recently, I have come into a way to start to heal this. Now, I do want to note that every issue, health problem, ache, pain, etc., is individual. And even if you look up the emotions related to it, there could be some other things attached to it that may not be listed. So, what I want to talk about today is blood pressure. Now, blood pressure is a huge problem for millions and millions and millions of people around the world. And a lot of people are taking medications, and the side effects of these medications are anywhere from like medium severity to severe. And it is necessary to be on them because without them, the health risks of stroke, heart attack, organ damage, increased chance of dementia, and premature death are all increased drastically. And they say that if you have a blood pressure that's consistently over, like, let's say 160, over 90, you have a higher chance of dying within a year than you do if you keep it in the 120 range and below 90. So there are a few things you can do, and the first thing that you want to do above and beyond anything else you can do is get your stress under control. And there are a few ways to do this, and the first one is to start with your diet and start eating more organic fruits and vegetables. And one thing that you want to do is start transitioning to eating 80 to 90% fruits and vegetables and whole grains, and only about 10 to 20% meat. And if you can get yourself down to even 5 to 10% meat, you're going to be even better off. Now, you don't need to be 100% like vegan or vegetarian, but you do need to lower the amount of meat that you eat. Specifically, red meat is the biggest, and pork, and any type of meat that's got hormones given to the animal. Another thing is that the way that animals are raised these days is stressful. And so what happens is when they go to slaughter, what they do is those animals are so terrified in the end that stress hormones are pumping through their bloodstream and into the organs, and you or we end up eating those, and those chemicals and hormones are transmitted into our body and into our energy system, causing us further stress. So that's the first thing you want to do. The next thing you want to do is you want to start exercising more. Because exercising, not only does it help you control your weight, but it lowers your stress drastically. And even though it may take you a little push to get yourself to go to the gym or get out and go for a walk or do any type of exercise, once you actually start doing it, most people actually report that they actually feel better. Now, one thing that I've done is I've found a picture of someone that I find attractive. I either put it on my wall while I'm working out, or if I'm, for instance, at the gym, I have it on my phone or in my mind, and I think or look at that photo and I'm telling myself, I could look like that. And I am able to work out just a little bit more intensely, I guess, or longer. So you might try that. And the last thing I want to recommend is that you start meditating. And there's all different types of meditation, but if you start meditating, especially where you're deep breathing and doing nose breathing versus mouth breathing, because most people are actually breathing out of their mouth, and they're doing this on a subconscious level, and it actually causes them to breathe shallow breaths, not filling their lungs up completely, and it doesn't cause them to have peaceful, relaxing hormones produced in the body. It causes them to be slightly on the flight and fight response, and that's not what you want. You want to be relaxed, calm, peaceful. So, there's studies been done on all different types of beverages and substances you can consume that lower the blood pressure. And one thing they found was people that drank 2 to 3 cups of organic hibiscus tea, which is also called Jamaica in Latin America and is a very popular beverage, it actually caused them to have their blood pressure naturally start to lower. And it did it drastically enough that some people doing this 2 to 3 times a day were able to either lower their medication or get off of it entirely. So you might want to go and find yourself some organic hibiscus tea. I was able to find some online and order it, and you can try that. It's also very heart protective in addition to just your blood pressure. It has other heart protective antioxidants in it, and anti-inflammatory antioxidants as well. Now, I started taking recently, within the last 2 months, I started taking coenzyme Q10. Now, there are 2 forms of coenzyme Q10 that you should be aware of, and one is called ubiquinone, and that is the cheap form, and it's oxidized, and the other one is ubiquinol, and it's not oxidized, and the ubiquinol is the one you want. Now, some stores and whatnot, they carry the ubiquinone, and most people are buying that because of the cost. And I took the ubiquinone, which is the cheaper form, and it did not do much for me. But when I switched to the ubiquinol, and I was taking, this is just me, you can toy with the dose for yourself, but I started taking 200 milligrams, and I took 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. My blood pressure went down to such a state that frequently my blood pressure was in the 110 region for the top number, and for the bottom number, it was staying below 70. And I'm having numbers where I'll lay in bed, and while I'm laying in bed, my blood pressure will be 100, 105, over, let's say, 63. And during the day, a lot of times I'll have my blood pressure be like between 110 and 118, now that I've been doing this. So I recommend that you get coenzyme Q10. Now, the hibiscus and the CoQ10, I mean, I've tried everything. I looked at things that had scientific studies in it, that were registered with the National Institute of Health with the US government. And to be registered with the National Institute of Health, you have to be peer-reviewed. You have to be not paid for by special interest groups, and they have to tell you specifically how the study was conducted, how many people were in it, and what their results were. And nothing that was registered with the National Institutes of Health that said it had scientific studies helped me lower my blood pressure, except for the hibiscus and the coenzyme Q10. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but you also want to start incorporating eating more whole grains and cutting down the meat to a bare minimum. And there is scientific studies showing that both our teeth and our digestive tracts, all the way to from the stomach, esophagus, teeth, all the way down to the anus, it's just not designed to handle meat. And people that are on a vegan diet where they're not having soy and they're not eating processed foods, they actually don't have things like heart disease. They don't have high blood pressure. They're not getting cancers the same way. There's a whole bunch of things you just don't have. And you don't have libido issues is another one. So that is something to know. And there are a lot of famous people out there that are vegan. And two very famous people are Bill Clinton and Pamela Anderson. They are vegan, and there's a whole slew of others. You can look them up. And for instance, Bill Clinton, he had, I think, 2 bypass surgeries, like quadruple bypass surgeries or whatever, and he went vegan, and his health and life has turned around since doing that. And his doctor, his heart surgeon, has come out with a book on getting rid of the animal products and replacing it with more vegetables and fruits and stuff like that are organic, and how it actually drastically improves your health. So you might want to look these things up. And I recommend that you go get yourself the coenzyme Q10 and make sure it is the ubiquinol, not the ubiquinone, and that you start taking that every day. You might toy with the dose and slowly work your way into taking it twice a day. Now, if you're already on medications, you may want to be careful that it doesn't lower your blood pressure too much. And you may want to schedule an appointment with your doctor to see about if this starts to lower your blood pressure, slowly lowering your dose of your blood pressure medication. But I would do it carefully and with your doctor's sanctioning, because my heart doctor told me that a lot of people will discontinue their blood pressure medication, and it's 6 to 8 weeks later that their blood pressure jacks up. But if you do what I'm telling you today, which is cut down the meat to under 20% of your daily calories, and if you can even get down to 5 to 10%, that would be optimal. And then you're taking the coenzyme Q10, ubiquinol, and you're also exercising and eating a high grain, whole grain diet with lots of fiber in it. You're just not going to have these problems anymore. Now, one of the major side effects of blood pressure medication is that you can't use most nutritional supplements, especially anything with herbs, because they contraindicate with the medications. Another thing is, almost all blood pressure medications, you can't have grapefruit anymore. And that can be a problem for some people because a lot of us love grapefruit, but now we have to eliminate it because of our medications, and the chance of heart attack and stroke and other problems related to high blood pressure outweigh the not taking the medications and having grapefruit. The other one is it causes for men virtually all blood pressure medications except for one cause libido issues, erectile dysfunction, and problems in that area. And even with taking stuff like cialis and viagra, people are still having erectile issues. And your blood and the amount of negative fats and cholesterol and things that block the flow of nutrients and oxygen to the penile region and throughout your arteries is increased with the decrease in animal products, including dairy, cheese, and meat. And even people that think that they're eating healthier by eating chicken or fish, trust me, boil chicken and see what comes out of the chicken while you're boiling it. Your pan in the water will have a coating of fat, and that is what you're eating when, for instance, you don't boil it. You bake it, fry it, saute it, however you cook it, and that's what you're getting in your bloodstream. And then your body has to process that. And when you don't have that anymore, it drastically takes that pressure out of your bloodstream, and things are able to flow with more ease. I also want to emphasize that when you eat less meat, you want to avoid soy. Soy is very hard on the thyroid, and soy happens to be high in plant estrogens. And what happens is that the Western diet, and with all these chemicals in everything from clothing to plastics to receipt paper you get at stores, lotions, facial products, toothpaste, deodorants, etc., cleaning products even, they contain chemical estrogens and hormone disruptors. And so what happens is that women are supposed to be progesterone dominant, and then their estrogen is supposed to be here. But what happens is there's so many chemical estrogens and then the soy with estrogen that it makes the estrogen go up here and the progesterone go down here. And that's when women start having harsher PMS. They start feeling more bloated, more mood issues. They don't feel themselves. Things are off. And then, of course, the man always blames the woman. And the men, what happens is their testosterone is lowered. And as that happens, they start putting on belly fat. It's harder for them to put on muscle. Their mood actually goes off. Ear hair is another sign of low testosterone. Fog brain can be a sign of low testosterone. Low energy, lack of libido, those all could be symptoms of low testosterone. And so you want to avoid soy and those chemicals, and you want to only use products that topically that are with 100% essential oils, because anything with artificial scent technically has chemical estrogens. It may be low dose, but low dose over a long period of time, especially when there's so much of it, it turns into this, and it's not just this little, like they, when I say they like this, for instance, the FDA, the US government, people that write articles on this subject, they want you to believe it's low, little impact. No, it starts to have a big impact over time. And I do want to say that my brother and several of my friends got diagnosed with low testosterone, and they were actually told that they needed to get on the prescription testosterone creams to correct the problem. Now, there's a few problems with that. One is, once you start taking testosterone, synthetic, your body stops producing testosterone in the testicles. And once that happens, it's virtually impossible to restart your testicles so that it starts producing testosterone again. So now you're addicted to the product. You have to take it, otherwise you'll never have any testosterone. So knowing that, I talked to them, and a lot of them started doing this regimen that I have, where you don't take that product, you avoid the chemicals, you stay away from the soy, and you start taking 50 to 100 milligrams of zinc chelate, and you take copper maybe 3 to 4 times a week, since zinc competes for absorption with copper, and you don't want to have no copper in your system because your body does need some low levels of copper to function properly. And you cannot produce testosterone without zinc. And both men and women need testosterone to have libido. And you also need zinc in order to have a proper functioning immune system and healthy skin. So it's very important that you're getting enough zinc. And it's good to have your systems and organs all functioning in harmony, because as they do, it helps all other systems in your body. When one area, like your liver or your pancreas or your kidneys or your brain or whatever's not functioning correctly, strain starts to go onto other organs that are compensating for the energy disharmony elsewhere. Your body wants to stay in a state of homeostasis and harmony, but it's a lot of times our thoughts, our feelings, the chemicals that are being produced from those, the foods we're eating or not eating, the water and fluid intake we're consuming, that are affecting us, and that can be a huge factor in our blood pressure. So today I recommend that you go out there and get yourself some organic hibiscus tea. Some grocery stores sell tea bags of that, and you can also go online like I did and get some bulk organic hibiscus tea and make your own tea every day, 2 to 3 cups. You can start taking the coenzyme Q10, ubiquinol, make sure it's the ubiquinol form, and start doing that every day. And then cut your meat down to eventually where you're getting to 5 to 10% of your daily intake from meat only. And the rest is organic fruits and vegetables and then whole grains. And I would be shocked if you don't start to see your blood pressure start to dramatically improve. Another thing that you can do in addition to this, and I've said this about a lot of things, is you can look up online reflexology or foot reflexology for high blood pressure, and start doing that while you're watching TV or laying in bed in the morning or at night or whatever you're doing, and you can look that up. Then also look up hand reflexology for high blood pressure. Because, for instance, when you're out in public or at work or down the street or driving, you can't pull your shoes off and start doing foot reflexology, but you can do a minute or two of hand reflexology. So I recommend that. Also, a lot of times, like for instance, if your computer or your cell phone acts up, before you start running with your head off thinking, oh my heck, I need help, what do I do? A lot of times, calmly, just turn your phone or computer off, restart it, it resets it. Now, doing reflexology on your hands and feet is kind of like, instead of running with your head off, cut off and upset, I need help, I need to see my doctor, I need help. Start with your foot and hand reflexology. It resets the system, and a lot of times it can restore you to harmony, and you won't need to necessarily go get help, or if you do, the help you need is a lot less than if you didn't do that. So these are my recommendations. Took me a while to figure this out, and there is a lot of studies and research on doing what I'm telling you. And you can look these up if you feel you need any proof or validation as to what I'm talking about. And you can see these studies online. So if you have any success stories after you start doing the hibiscus tea, cutting down the meat, doing more whole grains, getting your stress levels under control and exercising more, and taking the coenzyme Q10 and the hibiscus, you can send me a message at justin@august-moon.com. That is justin@august-moon.com. And I'd love to hear your success stories. What helped, what didn't help. And if you have any other things that you'd like me to talk about related to health, alternative healing, nutritional supplements, throw me a message as well. I'd love to hear from you. And you're always welcome to check out my website, august-moon.com. Not only do I sell my nutritional supplements there, but I also have a host of blogs, posts related to different health subjects that might be of interest to you and might help you in your life. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I look forward to chatting with you in the next episode of the August Moon Podcast. And you guys have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.